Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another paper crafting video tutorial. Happy Valentine's Day 2025. Today I am popping in with a card tag combo that was first featured in my Patreon. And today I am releasing it here on YouTube for general release. Just in time for Valentine's Day, yes, but switch up the greetings and this could be a great anytime card because if you are new to my channel, I think hearts are a good idea all of the time. First, we're going to do a little walkthrough of the products that I am using in today's card, starting with this quilted heart backdrop from Fawn. Most of the products I am using are from Fawn today, and I have die cut this from the white brushed Spellbinders cardstock for a little bit of shimmer and shine. Then we have some wonderful layering hearts. This is a lacy heart stackable from Fawn. Now, something I want to talk about with what I am using is many of these products are not brand new. In fact, I'm trying to think if any of them are brand new, and I don't think any of them are. Something that I am really passionate about this year is really diving into our stash and using what we have to create brand new, interesting, fun designs. So we have a lacy heart, we have a heart stackable, a stitched heart stackable, pardon me. And then I did use the heart pouch dotted add-on to give some really fun texture to this heart. Now, it is not made for this heart in particular, but it worked. And I love that for adding a little texture. So the stitched heart stackable is made to work with the lacy heart. And the lacy heart is from vellum. And then we've got a beautiful pink shade of cardstock. Next, we have another lacy heart stackable with a heart on top. And this time we are going to be stamping a heart to place on here from the Magic Heart Messages set using the coordinating die and then layering all of these pieces together. The name of the game today is layer, layer, layer. And then for my stitchers out there, stitching, maybe you love stitching on fabric as well, or maybe not. What I love about any stitching dies made for paper is that it's a much quicker process, number one, and number two, you can add that hand stitch touch to your card making so easily. So you can see that I have die cut that using the embroidery hoop from Fawn. Now in my little craft stacks stackable box here, you can see I have a whole bunch of goodies, including these rolled roses. These rolled roses are from Fawn, and they have been out for many years, if I'm not mistaken. They are not a new product, but you guys, if you love the look of a rolled rose, now, if you have seen me create some felt rolled roses, it's the same type of idea. You could use these dies with felt if you wanted to, but obviously these make much, much smaller rolled roses, and we're gonna have a little fun creating some dimensional rolled roses for not only our card, but our tag as well. These craft stacks that I have all of my supplies in is really how I love to create. I like to die cut all of my pieces, and if I can't complete the card right at that time, I stick all that stuff in the craft stacks, put a lid on it so I don't have to worry about things disappearing, and I am good to go. And then the next time that I have time to work on my project, I can grab that craft stacks and start creating. We are going to start by doing a little stitching, and I'm going to use the Spellbinders Tool-in-One to help remove some of those holes from the heart embroidery hoop here. And we are going to stitch this heart. So the name of the game with this card is Hearts, Hearts, and More Hearts. And what we're doing is just punching out all of those little paper pieces. And then we're going to start stitching and making little X's. There are many, many ways that you can choose to stitch this. You do not have to stitch it like a traditional cross stitch, even though that is what I'm going to do. So I have left a tail on the back, and you're going to notice that I'm going to cross each stitch as I go. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to have variegation in my floss. You may notice on my desktop, I have Classic Colorworks Little Pink Peony floss. This doesn't look like a DMC floss because it's not a traditional DMC floss that you would pick up at your local craft store. This is something from a needlework shop. I have this because, as many of you know, I'm also an avid cross stitcher, and I have a lot of floss and like a lot of extra floss left over from projects. And so I actually decided, wouldn't it be fun? I wanted to see what will the variegation in this floss look like on a paper stitched project, and especially because this is full coverage. This is something for anyone who's not familiar with over dyed flosses and stitching. They are flosses that are dyed to have variegation in them, meaning when you stitch a solid area on a project, it naturally gives you variegation without having to change floss colors like you might be used to with traditional DMC floss. This is not a necessity at all. Most of the time when I am doing paper stitching, I will choose to do a DMC floss. However, I do have a lot of leftover floss, so at times when you see me stitch on paper, you may see me stitching with an over dyed just to, like use it up. I basically use whatever I have on hand at the time, and that was definitely the case here, but it does end up being a very, very happy little discovery that this solid heart looks amazing in this pink floss. Now, you could stitch this heart in multiple colors. You could have done a couple of shades of pink and white and done little stripes on this heart if you wanted to. I am going to stitch the entire thing with this floss, but I do like to make mention of that. I am using 3 strands of floss to stitch at a time. That is not something I normally do when I am stitching on fabric, but I find for my felt stitching, for stitching on paper, 3 strands of floss is kind of my sweet spot. I like the coverage this provides. The reason you complete an X at a time, like you see me doing here with a variegated over dyed floss, is that it gives you the best variegation. I did it for 2 reasons. Yes, the best variegation. Sometimes I don't care. I'm going to be completely upfront and honest with you guys, even on fabric. But most of the time I do try to do 1X at a time. But the other reason is I knew that I would not have enough floss to stitch this entire heart with the first strands that I put in my needle. I knew I was going to have to load up my needle again and keep stitching. And so I wanted to make sure that I was just doing 1X at a time so that when I get to the end of my floss, I don't want to be playing a bunch of floss chicken here. I want to be able to run that underneath some of my back stitches in the back, grab 3 more strands of floss and keep on stitching. Now, because this was part of a live video, and just full disclosure, I kind of overestimated, whatever you want to call it, how long this was going to take me to stitch. As one does, I gotta be honest, I always think I'm gonna stitch much, much faster than I actually do. But I set this down for a minute during the live, and we kind of just moved on to the other card, even though in the edited version of this video, you are going to see some of the card put together, but we are going to come back to that. I just wanted to be fully upfront that in the editing process of the video, I do go ahead and kind of adjust things just a little bit for a little more cohesiveness that may not always be that way in a live video. Okay, so you can see that I kind of created some flowers and stuff, but never fear, we're going to be back to that. I just wanted to really keep the continuity, pardon me, of stitching in here, and I wanted to leave it in the video for the most part. We will be gluing, and I will show you my best tip for creating those rolled roses here in just 1 second. And I'm going to continue this stitching again, with the, afterthought, I guess, I suppose, or the editing process of a video, I am able to cut some of this out. So you're going to notice we're going to jump from here to the end pretty quickly. And look how beautiful the finished result is, you guys. I absolutely love this heart, and I could see doing several of these. A great activity for when you're watching TV in the evening. Okay, so let's go ahead and start gluing a few things down. And this is in the live version where I had set aside the embroidery because I wanted my glue to be drying while I finished my stitching. And I am running beads of glue from my Misty glue press all over the back of my quilted heart panel and placing it right over the pink. I really wanted to have a beautiful contrast. Everything about this card is hearts, hearts, and more hearts. Hearts are always a good idea, in my opinion. Look at that. And then we're going to start a little bit of fun layering. And we're going to glue our quilted heart panel or our dotted hearts panel, I guess it's what it's called, to the vellum. We're going to glue our pink heart to the white brushed heart, lacy heart. I love the layers here. The layers are really what makes this magical. We are going to take our magic heart message, stamp this with lobster red ink on some white cardstock, and then use the coordinating Fawn Magic Heart Messages die to die cut this. This is our greeting for our card. You will notice that the card sentiment and the tag sentiment are going to match, and this is on purpose. I love that Lawn Fawn has lots of different products that are similar and go together beautifully, but on the tag, we're going to make it a glimmered heart tag. So we're going to do a little foiling, but look how beautiful that looks. Okay, our florals. We are using both the large and the small size of the rolled roses, and I am making multiples of them because we will be using them not only for the card, but for the tag. I have die cut them from 3 shades of cardstock. We have our lightest pink color, which is Peony. We have Fruit Punch from Spellbinders and Barely Peach from Spellbinders. We also have my little stork embroidery scissors. This is from the Nichol's Needleworker Toolkit die set because I felt like they went really well with a card that is mashing up my love of stitching with my love of card making. Let's make a rolled rose. We are going to start at that far tip. That little rounded area is actually the last part of the rolled rose. When I am creating a rolled rose from paper, I like to clamp it with reverse tweezers, and then we are going to be rolling that around the tip of our tweezers, kind of trying to keep it all nice and flush at the base. As you roll, you will notice the rolled rose start, or rolled flower, this is a rolled rose, but whatever you're using, start to take shape. I did roll mine fairly tight. You could let it go a little bit and make a little bit more open rolled rose, but I'm keeping it tight. When I get to the end, I carefully pull my tweezers out, and it is nice and tight. It's actually staying put really well. You can kind of take your fingers and fluff it out if you want it to be a little more open. Put glue on that little solid circle. I'm just doing a pretty generous amount of liquid glue, and then I'm going to press it down into the glue, the whole flower, and let it sit. Let it sit, let that liquid glue dry, and then we can come back in a little bit. This is why I wanted to do this step before finishing my stitching. Just kind of full disclosure. If you're remaking this design on your own, and you also want to do some stitching on your card or any of the other components, I would recommend die cutting your flowers, assembling your flowers, gluing them together, letting them sit, and then doing all of your die cutting, your stamping, etc. And I am just going to continue this for all of my flowers. Isn't that amazing? You instantly have this beautiful rolled rose decor. Now, what is great about this is it is perfect for all kinds of paper crafting, home decor. Imagine making these dimensional flowers for all kinds of things. Now, the one drawback that I want to mention to you guys is I definitely think you would want to consider a padded mailer or hand delivery for any kind of card that has something dimensional like this. I am using these bubble gum Simon Says Stamp positively saturated gems in the center of each of my rolled roses when I am finished. I like the little bit of sparkle, but you definitely don't have to add anything if you don't want to. I love that there is a large and a small size. It gives you some nice variety. Imagine covering a heart. Maybe you want to make, like, I love making heart picks to put, you know, into displays or into plant stands. Wouldn't it be cute to make a heart, cover it with these rolled roses, tie a little ribbon to, glue it to a craft pick, tie a little ribbon around it, maybe with a tag, tuck it into a flower display or vase of flowers and gift it to a friend. I think that would be so much fun and a great use of these florals in other ways besides, you know, on cards. Yes, we all love cards, but I am such a huge fan of finding ways to utilize our paper crafting product for home decor things, for tags. Maybe you have a Valentine's tree. You can make tags to hang on it or ornaments to hang on it, and these would be a great addition to that. As well as I know I mentioned a little bit earlier that you could for sure use these and die cut these from felt and make some little felt rolled roses. I do think the felt would be a little bit bigger because you can't tend to roll it quite as tight as you can paper, but they are going to be on the smaller size, so I think they would make a fantastic addition. Also from the Nichol's Needleworker toolkit, I have the needle die cut from the brushed gold, just like the little embroidery snips, and a piece of the Fruit Punch cardstock die cut for the thread. We're going to glue those together, and then I'm just going to kind of clamp them with my tweezers while that glue is drying. Again, anything I can do while I'm working on something more time consuming, whether it's glimmering or coloring or stitching, whatever, I like to do that. So in this case, we have a lot of liquid glue drying time happening. And so I really tried to hit all of those areas. Okay, we are skipping ahead now. We have our embroidery hoop. The embroidery hoop I did die cut from 2 colors of cardstock. That gives me the inside piece, which was the poppy cardstock from Spellbinders. And then we have the outer hoop part, which was die cut from the Portobello and brushed gold. We are assembling the hardware to the hoop, and I'm just going to let that sit for a minute. I've forgotten to glue that. We are going to grab our bubble gum positively saturated gems, and in the center of my rolled roses, which have been sitting for a little bit, we are going to add some gems down inside. Look at that little touch of sparkle, perfect for Valentine's. So again, just adding a little glue down there and then sticking my gem. And usually I like to use, you can see I'm using this little piercing tool to kind of get my gem going the right direction. This gem kind of went rogue and I think it went upside down. And ultimately I decided, okay, it's staying there. I'm not digging it out. I put another one on top of it. It happens. I like to be honest with you guys here that sometimes crafting mistakes are made. Okay, we're just tucking this one down. Don't worry about any of the white glue that you still see down in there. If you have used this glue before, you know it's going to dry clear and we're still going to have a beautiful, sparkly, pretty gemstone down in the center of our rolled rose. These colors are my favorite. I would work with these even if it wasn't Valentine's Day, and I do often. I am a pink and red kind of girl. I love them, and I also love hearts all of the time. On the back of our large lacy heart here, we are going to take some foam adhesive squares and pop up our heart on our card. It's time to kind of start assembling some of these things and getting them onto our card design where we want them to end up. So I used some foam squares. I wish I would have got out like the long strips of foam, but I didn't, so that is okay. And we're going to kind of tilt it and hang it off the left edge of the design. Then we're going to glue our other lacy layered heart piece right on top, like so. And next we're going to see where we want our embroidery hoop with heart to go. And it's going to overlap part of the design that is popped up. Part of it is going to overlap or be on the part of the card that doesn't already have foam. On the side that is overlapping our lacy hearts, we're adding liquid glue. On the other side, we are adding foam so that it's nice and flush. The same goes for our embroidery hoop. That means on the outer side, on the right side, we need to add a thin strip of foam adhesive, but on the left side, we do not. Otherwise, it's not going to lay flat. So I have these thin foam adhesive strips from Simon Says Stamp. I am removing the backing paper from both sides, and we are going to just gently bend this around the right side of the hoop, like so. I'm going to add glue to the other side. I hope that I have done this correctly. It looks like I have. And then we're going to pop it in place. Oh, it looks so cute, you guys. I love it. We are also going to place our white heart right here in the center of our layered lacy hearts with foam, popping that one up as well. Lots and lots of layering are happening with this card design. We're going to add liquid glue to our stork embroidery snips and glue those down. I missed a little spot. And then we're going to play with flower placement. As with a lot of projects that I shared for Valentine's or other occasions that didn't necessarily call for a lot of greenery, I chose to die cut the leaves for my rolled roses from the shimmer vellum from Simon Says Stamp instead of green cardstock. And this was intentional because in this instance, I do think green would take away from the overall look and feel of this card. And so when that happens, I love a shimmery vellum or just a regular vellum leaf because it gives you a little bit of that transparency. It gives you enough of a difference in texture and look that it provides the leaf look without kind of creating that glaring green on a card design. I'm going to glue my needle down too. I've glued my little rolled roses, slightly overlapping my cross stitching. We want everything to be very layered in this case. And now we're going to tuck our vellum leaves. There are two sizes of our shimmer vellum leaves for the rolled roses, and I'm going to use quite a maybe 3, I think here. And I'm bending them along the stitch line to give them that wonderful texture tucked into this display. Oh, I love this so much. I think it's just so, so pretty. There we go. And there is our card. So pretty, so fun, and just a wonderful way to gift someone a heart theme card. Now, you may have noticed that I did use that heart sentiment, yes, for a Valentine's-y type of card, but you definitely could change that up and use some other kind of sentiment. You could make that a solid heart. You do not have to make it a Valentine's card, and I still think it would be amazing. Lots and lots of fun. So the final thing would be to glue this to a white side fold card base to finish it up. Now, we have some wonderful little rolled roses here that I glued and put together. and I am ready to make my tag. Now the tag is much simpler. It is going to be another lacy base. So this is similar to the first card where we have the big heart, but we're going to do the layering. And remember where I said that our stamped sentiment also comes in a glimmered sentiment? We're going to use the glimmer plate here for this one. And I have got my glimmer hot foil machine warming up, and we are going to be using the die that works with this particular sentiment. So this is the foiled sentiment Happy Valentine's Day. We also have our stitched happy heart, which works with this, and we're going to glimmer first, and then we are going to die cut with the coordinating die. A little bit simpler here as far as layering. This is mostly going to be, it's a tag or an ornament. So I didn't add quite as much to this, but we're still adding those florals. I am going to glimmer though on the peony color of cardstock as opposed to white. I personally love the look of glimmered anything on colored cardstock. I know that it can be somewhat tricky to get good results, but I really do feel that it's more of a glimmer plate issue rather than a cardstock issue in many cases. If you are using good quality glimmer plates, you know, the glimmer plates obviously from Spellbinders, these Lawn Fawn ones I have had very good luck with. Pink Fresh I generally have fantastic luck with as well. You can glimmer on colored cardstock. It doesn't have to be the Hammermill very smooth cardstock. Yes, it does give you absolutely stunning results, but if you are, you know, if you love the look of colored cardstock like I do, I really recommend giving it a try. So I am using some red foil here. I think I used the solid red foil for this one today. We are going to glimmer this, and we're waiting for it to heat up. Now, something I want to mention is this is a tag. And I realized kind of as I'm sitting here waiting, I should probably have a back for the tag. If you're like me, your die cutting platform plate is probably pretty beat up from lots and lots of die cutting, and that means that as it goes through the rollers in your machine, it creates those little cutting marks on the back of your cardstock, which normally don't matter. I decided I want to back my heart with another solid heart. I did die cut the lacy heart base from brushed white cardstock, a specialty cardstock. I don't necessarily need that for the back of my tag, so I actually die cut it again just from a regular white cardstock, you know, something that we have in our stash, to save that beautiful specialty cardstock a little bit, and I put them back to back just like this. Next, my machine is heated up. I've clicked the button. We're going to wait for that to be solid, and then we're going to take the platform, run it through our Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine, and we should end up with a beautiful foiled sentiment. It's always magic. I don't know about you guys, but it's always magic when we lift off the foil and it kind of all came off at once. Oh my gosh, you guys, look how beautiful that red foiling looks on the peony cardstock from Hero Arts. Now you could take this solid with this negative space, pardon me, with a solid foil plate and foil it on another piece of cardstock, and then go ahead and die cut it, and you would have the reverse, and you would get two foiled hearts out of one. I am taking that die now, and we are going to run this through our die cut machine. And I do want to mention, if you are die cutting after foiling, make sure that your temporary tape, washi, post-it tape, whatever you like to use, does not cover the foil. It will lift up the foiling a little bit and kind of dull it and ruin it. So you always want to make sure you're not placing that temporary adhesive over any of the foiled parts. Okay, then I really love how this looks, but I definitely missed the boat. I need to put another heart back behind here. Even though there is what I kind of mentioned, minimal layering, I felt like, oh, the soft pink and the brushed white are super pretty, but we need a bold punch the fruit punch cardstock, if you will. So we're going to die cut another stitched heart there, layer that down so we end up with that beautiful just little lacy look around the edges. We're going to pop up our foiled heart in the center for that depth and dimension, and then we can add our wonderful little rolled rose hearts here to finish this up. Super simple, super sweet. At this point, this would be adorable. You could glue a dowel stick to the back of this. I know I've done a lot of like the rosette kind of styles with that. You could totally do that with this. And this could be a craft pick also in a floral display or into, you know, your Valentine's display if you want to. You could string them together. I would put the adhesive in between the backer and like the two pieces of cardstock we put together for the back, and you could make this a banner, or you could run it through the lacy trim around the edges, and you could make this a banner to hang from a mantle or other displays or shelving or something. I think that would be cute. Do a whole bunch of hearts. Lots and lots of ways to use these hearts besides for a tag. You could also place this entire thing on a card front if you were needing more cards instead of a tag. I really just wanted to show the versatility in this video, but definitely do whatever feels good to you. Now I'm tucking my rolled roses into the design, really just trying to be very mindful of where I place those embellishments. I don't want to take away from the Happy Valentine's Day sentiment, but I don't mind it overlapping certain areas. So you'll notice I did 2 rolled roses on the right, 1 on the left. So we have all of the colors represented. I mean, you guys, how beautiful is this? Now, as I was looking at it, I thought, well, of course we need to add a few more embellishments. Why not? So I have my little triangle tray still filled with the bubblegum gems. I am going to grab a few extras of these and just place them on top of some of the foiled areas. Not all. I felt like that would probably be too many, but a couple of the areas, it just adds a little extra sparkle and fun to the finished tag. Finally, we're taking some red twine. I'm just going to cut a length here, and we are going to, actually, I think the best way is right here in the center. We're going to go through 2 of the little loops in the lacy edge, and we're going to pull the ends flush, not the ends, and just tie those off together and trim up the end of our tag. And that is it, friends. Now we have a finished tag, a finished card, both featuring beautiful rolled roses. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this card and tag combo featuring Lawn Fawn products. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There is exclusive content, information, and behind-the-scenes content. Top-tier members will receive a handmade birthday card during your birthday month, access to D-Stash, and monthly exclusive lives, plus so much more. We would love to have you join our growing community.